Welcome back to another day of live streaming our game currently called Dream Machine. I'm Joshua Blair. I'm the CEO and founder of Icebreaker Games. Thank you guys for joining us. So just diving right in, I will say yesterday we were able to start setting up some of the mechanics behind opening the bunker door. We want this to be a pretty dramatic event, so we were able to basically put in kind of a alarm system and some blinking lights and whatnot, and now the player can actually leave the bunker. And then we also set up some of the armor. There's kind of an armor loadout now, and so you can select your armor, and so when you leave the bunker, this is going to show up when you're actually outside the bunker, so you actually have this new armor. If we take a look and just kind of quickly go through what this looks like now. So in general, you can now come over here to this weapons loadout, and now this doesn't actually represent the weapons that are gonna be in the game, but this is kind of just placeholders for now. I may only do maybe like a pistol or a shotgun for the player when he first starts out, and then maybe eventually he can unlock other weapons. So if we select this pistol here, and then if we go over to the other locker, now we get an armor selection here. And with this armor selection, depending on what we select is what's going to get loaded when we get to the new apocalyptic city scene here. So let's just say, for example, I choose this guy. If I exit out here and I go over to the bunker door, you can see it's now blinking. It wasn't earlier. So if we push this button, the alarm's going to go off, so be prepared. But that essentially unlocks the door and breaks the seal to the bunker. Once we open the door itself, the alarm will deactivate. And now we will be able to come up here and then leave the bunker. Now, once the bunker level, or sorry, the apocalyptic city level opens or loads, you will see now we are wearing that new armor that we just selected. And so we can move around the city and do stuff. Right now there's not a whole lot you can do in here. There's no combat, there's no enemies. You can only just explore at this point. But you know, we're gonna get to that stuff eventually. And there's also no way to get back into the bunker. But all that stuff's coming. We're making good progress. Here we are on day 16 officially. So I think we're doing pretty good, guys. So that being said, today I'd like to work a little bit on this light here. We're gonna have this be kind of the alarm light. When that siren's going off, this is also gonna be going off. And I'm thinking about putting this light also one in each room. And so that way, if for some reason there is some type of an alarm event inside the bunker, which we will kind of throw some of those into the story, then these lights right here would be illuminated, but the rest of the lights maybe we might turn off, or I don't know. Thinking we could set that up, and then I really want to dive into finally setting up the father figure in this bunker. We've talked about him in the story just several times, but at no point have we ever actually tried to decide what he looks like, how old he is, what he's going to be doing inside the bunker while the player is running around. So I'd really like to work on that today, so I think that's going to be fun. And then we're also going to be looking at, you know, the animations that are going to come into play with him. And I'll show you guys kind of a cool way, or at least the way that I do it, where I get animations and get that all set up. All right, so just diving right in. Yesterday I also put in this loudspeaker here. I think it'll help kind of represent where the sound is coming from. But we need to set up this light. Now, there's a couple things here. There's a couple different ways to do this. The light already kind of appears as if it's illuminated, and so I'm kind of not a fan of that. I'm just looking at the material here. I'm looking at the emission. If we dumb this down here, then it looks a little better, I think. And then if we were to turn it back on, we don't want to go too high, but we might be able to go back up, you know, to something like that. I don't know, but and then we're also going to want to incorporate a light with these guys. I was thinking about originally doing kind of a spinning light or strobing light kind of deal. I don't know how we're going to do that yet, so I might just put might just make it blinking at this point. We'll fine tune it as we go, but that's kind of what I'm thinking here. So let's go ahead and open this prefab here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a point light here. Because of the way that this bulb is set up, I figured the light needs to come out from all angles and not just be directional. Yes, technically we could have bulbs in there that are spinning or pointing in a certain direction, but I'm not going to about that. I'm going to change the color of the light. I might go more of a brighter red here. We could just do something potentially like this for now. And we can see exactly what that looks like in the scene here. I feel like in this one, it's, you know, it's a little more chaotic just because there's more stuff in that area of the light. If you look at this one, imagine all the other lights being off. You know, I think this would have a pretty decent glow to it. I am curious if we kind of pull it out a little bit, what that might look like. Doesn't look too bad. Looking at something like that, and then we already created a blinking red light concept here. And now that I think about it, we should also go ahead and move these lights into, I'm gonna go ahead and move them into the dynamic folder we had here. And I always call these folders, but you know, they are technically game objects, but I use them to structure and organize my hierarchy, so sometimes I'll call them folders. I apologize for that. But we're gonna drag those in down here, and then if you notice, we had in the interactables we had this button, and then with this button we had a light source here, and we had this FSM called light blink. I'm going to copy that and I'm going to bring it up to these other lights, and I'm going to paste that in here. Now I do think we actually have to edit this a little bit. Yep. Which these should have been marked blue just because of their reference. Would need to be changed when I do something like this, when I copy it over. We don't need that empty game object anymore. But so for here, we're going to basically be turning this light on and off. I'm going to drag in this new reference, and I'll do it here as well. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just go ahead and copy this component and delete these ones. And then just repaste this new one we will still have to reference the new light here. So I'll do that real quick. And we could have set it up where Playmaker like does a search for a child, and any children that are lights, it would pull back the reference. And that if I did it that way, I would not mark it blue. But sometimes I just feel like it's not necessary when we're only doing like one item. So if we play this scene, these lights should be blinking on and off on their own. Looks pretty good. And so my goal is when the alarm's going off, these are going to go off. So to start off, we will have these turned off. This. And we got to go down to the button script here. The button FSM here sends an event to the alarm manager. So we're actually gonna probably put these lights on the actual alarm manager as well. So whenever the alarm is turned on, we're going to have a new event to turn on lights. And we'll just do it in this order. I don't think it should matter, but we're gonna have the 3 activate game objects. This set, since we're gonna reference it, I'm gonna mark it blue, and then we're just dragging these other lights. That. And so now we look, lights aren't on, but if we go over here and press the button, you can see the alarm is now flashing. Sorry, the alarm is now going crazy, and the lights are flashing. But we did not set it up where the lights stop flashing when we have the door open like this. That would be the next step. If we go back to the alarm manager here, once the alarm is turned off, we're going to do the exact opposite of this. And so we're going to turn off the lights. I'll rename this turn off lights. And then we're just going to uncheck these. And if we play test this again, and I apologize for the alarm again, you can see we got the flash, we open the door, bam, the lights get turned off. Now there was some debate yesterday on why we're turning the alarms off if the door's open, if we're opening the door. And it is a good debate. It's something we may change eventually. But at this particular moment, I'm just thinking that the alarm itself is indicating that the seal to the door has now been broken. And so technically, like in real life, we would be able to then reseal the door, maybe pushing the red button again. I don't think we're going to give that option to the player. But you know, technically, if they did reseal it, then the locking sound, the locking mechanism sound will trigger again, and then the alarm would go off, but the door would still stay shut. But then once you're opening the door, now you're acknowledging that the seal is broken and that you intended to do that, and now you want to leave. So that's why I'm kind of just triggering the alarm to turn off at that. I'm not sure how much that makes sense or not. My time in bunkers is limited. But I may look at what other games have done and look up some kind of references and see what makes the most sense. But I think for now, I think that's going to work. Ultimately, we just want this experience to be dramatic. And so we've started with some stuff. Obviously, we need to add more. But with those lights now situated, I do feel like we can move on. I'm going to go ahead and organize this scene a little bit more. You can see I did add some stuff here. So like this poster, I will add to the supply room. We have these signs. These are just hallway signs. Same with these ones. These ones as well. This is actually in the supply room. And then we have these are the bedroom. And lastly, this loudspeaker goes into the hallway. I don't remember what this was. Okay, this was the light. I'll go ahead and get rid of that for now. I don't think we need it. Yeah, I think the rest of that stuff is good. We're kind of just using some of this stuff for testing. Not sure what this button is and why it's down there. I think that was an accident. It should have been in the canvas anyway. So there, I think we are organized. I do have this character's empty game object. I'm gonna go ahead and reset its transform. And so we could potentially move the characters in here. Just to kind of clean it up just a little bit more. Even though we're not using all these characters, sometimes I use them as references, so I leave it. But there we go. I think that looks much better. Zoom back in. Now comes the great and amazing moment of picking out the father figure. Now this might be a little interesting. It's going to be difficult, I'll tell you that. And the reason why I say this is because one, we have a lot of options, and two, it's going to be hard because I have an idea of what I want the father to look like in my mind, and I don't know if we have something like that already as a prefab. So if we go ahead and actually let's move out here maybe, and we're going to just maybe I'll create a plane here. And this is going to be where we display all of the options here. I'd like to kind of set it up where I say, hey, these are all the guys I'm thinking about, and then you guys can provide your feedback if you think so-and-so was better. Ultimately, though, I will decide a winner for today, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be the winner forever. So I'm going to start off in the Polygon Apocalypse pack. Now, some of these guys, I mean, this guy, he's a great example. He looks like an older gentleman, but you know, him having the biker look, and then he's potentially a engineer, a scientist. It just, I don't know if it really adds up. So I'm not sure if we are going to be able to find somebody, like I said, but we'll look through here. Now this guy has some potential. I didn't realize how big they were. This guy has some potential, and the reason being is you can tell he's injured. He's missing an eye. He's got some injuries on his leg. Obviously, we wouldn't need him to have a backpack. He does have gloves. Makes him look like he's working, but he does somewhat have potential. He's not perfect by any means, but you know, I could potentially work with that. This guy, he's kind of the hunter look. I'm not sure if this guy makes sense. I'm gonna say no on him. This is just, you know, it's kind of difficult. You know, what does our character look like? And he's not technically leaving the bunker, at least that we know of. So he doesn't necessarily have to be all geared out in survival stuff. This guy, I don't know, he does look older as well. Of course, we can change a lot of the concepts to him. He does have some of the survival gear on, but I'm going to throw him out there just as potential. We can also change, you know, the skin colors and the colors of the outfit if we need to, but you know, we don't necessarily need to have him have the exact same skin color as the child. You know, obviously we don't know who his mother was, and so a mixture between the father and the mother created our character. But they don't have to, so they don't have to be the same. So those are the only two from the apocalyptic character prefabs that looks decent to me. So I'm gonna move into this battle royale pack. Now the battle royale pack, they're all bald. And the reason why they do that is because they have all these attachments that you can then customize your character. And you can even put the good old Roman helmet on there if you need. So just kind of looking, you know, we could do something to this extent. You know, I'm not a huge fan of this. It's kind of just plain. But I think that's about all we need for that one. Let's just say hypothetically we did want to gear up this guy. Obviously we would need we would need hair. I do think he should probably have a beard too. That's why these guys have beards. So if I go ahead and try to find hair for this guy, should be able to just drag this on. Okay, we have some more options here, and I guess that was actually female hair. Didn't notice that. Hair should probably be a little bit longer. I don't know about giving them a mullet. But Could be a little bit longer. We could do... And we don't have a whole lot of options here. Yeah. And I'm not sure how we make him look older aside from just the color of his hair. But we would want him to not look so young. And maybe now you guys can see what I mean about it being fairly difficult to do this. It's easier to do it the other way around. It's easier to take a character you already have and then build a story behind it. It's harder to do it the other way, where you have an idea and you have the character in mind, and now you're trying to build the character using what you have. We could do potentially something like that. We look at the materials here. There should be some alternates, kind of like that green and black. We could darken his skin up a little bit. And I don't think he had any other attachments, so we can't turn off like these knee pads. Those are kind of just built in. But you go with something like that. It doesn't look too bad, but definitely not perfect. Technically supposed to be a mercenary. Just looking at what this guy has that we can turn off too. I'm not seeing much. But on this guy, I'm really hoping we can turn off, yep, that backpack. And we can actually turn off this pouch. I don't think we need to though. But there we go. And another kind of little bit of a backstory. So my idea is that, you know, while the child is sleeping or he's in the dream machine, the father's doing stuff that we don't know. And so for all we know, he is going outside the bunker and getting supplies, or he is clearing out the ventilation system, or, you know, he's doing these things, and he's gonna come back in the morning and be before the kid wakes up, and he's gonna be injured or fatigued or tired. You know, so having a guy with injuries like this helps kind of build that story. If I all of a sudden just want this guy to be the character, you know, besides from his cut in his shirt, it's gonna be a little bit harder to simulate an injury. It's gonna be kind of fake looking almost. That's why I was saying I kind of like what this guy can potentially bring to the table here. I don't know why, but I'm gonna go ahead and look at the construction concepts, see if there's anybody here. I mean, this guy could, you know, potentially work to an extent. I mean, he is going to be in the bunker working on things, fixing things up. And of course, we could still put a beard on him. And this one has some attachments as well, so it's kind of nice that Cinti does that. Something like that looks pretty cool. Could even give him, you know, helmets, cigarette, hammer, glasses. Wonder what he looks like with glasses on. There you go. Kind of looks like a scientist slash builder, I guess, that's capable of doing what he did in the bunker. We also have this farm pack here. Doesn't have a whole lot of stuff. This guy is kind of a similar concept to the other one. He looks a little bit older too, which is nice. I'm not sure he would need to be wearing like boots or whatnot, but you know, he definitely looks like he's been outside. Where this guy looks like he's more inside working. But I'll leave him out there. And then just potentially I want to see what he looks like, or would look like if we threw some glasses on there. There we go. Not too bad. I think we've gotten down to about 5 options here so far. Nobody's really just standing out as a clear winner here. I think the majority of these guys are just going to be too military looking. Maybe too badass. So yeah, I don't think we'll go with any of the military. And then of course we can't go with samurai. We can't go with sci-fi. Take a look at these street racer guys, but I think the majority of them, I mean, that guy's just too much, right? I think some of these guys are just, I think they're just too cool, you know? Or too young looking too. What I really wanted to look at was this guy because he's a mechanic. I thought maybe we could find a way to, you know, fix him, change him, make him look a little bit older. Trying to see if we have any hair that's kind of grayed out a little bit. I think the majority of these, they come with like the hair pretty much brown, and then you have to find the the material to change that hair. You gotta find the material to change it that color. I think some of these hairs are built for like the kids. I don't know. Yeah, this guy doesn't like these attachments that I'm putting on there. But, you know, I guess I'll leave him in the mix as potential. I'm not a huge fan of the tattoo. That was the hair he had on there originally. And all these are like sunglasses. That's the exact same beard. I don't know. All right, let's move on. This war map. These are, I think, older, like World War II characters looking. So, I don't think that's gonna work. I don't think we'll find any in there. We do have the Western characters. I don't think any of those are gonna work either. So I think that's really about it. And if we want to look at just real fast the sci-fi, I mean, I don't even think they have just a generic, you know, scientist-looking character here. Yeah, I think they're all pretty extreme. And this would be the last one. It does kind of give me an idea though. These ones, they look like they're wearing VR goggles. We could technically find a way to incorporate that into our story. Where if the boy's in the dream machine, maybe he has to wear the goggles. It's gold plating at this point, so I'm not too worried about it. But here we go. Here is the 6 characters we've narrowed it down to. I'm gonna go ahead and put them in a line still. And I'd love to hear you guys' feedback. You know, which one you guys think makes the most sense. Now, I will say I think he needs to look older. So these guys get bonus points, I think, for looking older. I don't know if this guy's beard. Okay. It is separate. There's the model at least. It's just a standard beard, just one. So there is a material in the construction that makes the beard look like that. I think. Maybe not. But I think we could take that beard. These are actually female glasses. We could actually take that beard and apply it to anybody. So I am thinking that beard is ideal. Let's take a look at this guy's real quick. I want to see if it's detachable. and it's not. Bummer. All right, so we could, let's say if we applied that beard across the board here. We got that guy set up. Armor. Good. Builders, fine. That's where we're getting it from. And then we got this mercenary. Come on. Looking a little better. No. Guy is marked as the homeless guy. That's what they named him. Like I said, I do like what this guy could potentially bring to the table. The big part about this story is that the father is getting ill and injured and older, and so he can't leave the bunker anymore, and he needs his son to do it. That's the big part of the story. So if he looks like this, you know, it may be hard to display that part of the story. You know, he's gonna have to look older or injured. I'm curious. I wouldn't even know what to look up here. I wonder if there's kind of a bandage. That we could use. It does look like there is some. Look at the actual prefabs here. Not a lot. Looks like we got a head one. Let's just say hypothetically we put that onto this guy. What would that look like? Doesn't look like. Oh, not bad actually. A little extreme, but it it works. Still better. These are for the arm, so I'm not sure exactly where it would go. Probably around the elbow. We might even be able to get them to work on maybe the leg. We can kind of simulate a few injuries. Nothing too crazy, but at least we have that option here. I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm actually leaning towards this guy. Just because I feel like he would fit into the scene he's currently in a little bit better. I feel like we can have him walk around and do maintenance on the bunker We could still give him the injury at some point. Which is good to know. I will say if we ever put him in the bed sleeping, he may look a little weird sleeping in this outfit, but leaning towards this guy. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and take all of these characters. I'll put them in here. And let's just create I'm going to create another empty game object. And I'll just call it father. And so we'll drag all of these guys into the father one here. And for now, I think I will go with the builder, this guy. And so we'll move him into the scene for now. I'll call this father option. And we don't need this active right now. I'll go ahead and put this plane in there as well. And let's drag this guy into our scene. And here comes the fun stuff. So we have a father figure now. And he's gonna be doing stuff throughout the bunker. So the way I usually do this, and like I said many times during this whole stream, is there's several ways to do these things. And my way doesn't always necessarily mean it's the right way. This is just the way that I've been doing it for so long, so I just continue to do it, whether it's the right way or the wrong way. But in general, you know, with something like this, we need to give him some type of AI element. Like he's going to be going around, he's an NPC essentially. So he's going to be running around just doing stuff throughout the scene. So we'll probably first start off with him just kind of randomly showing up in different locations. We won't actually have him walk in between those locations. You know, but for 1 second he might be sitting on this chair working on the computer. Maybe 1 minute he's sitting over here working on the dream machine. Maybe he's tinkering with stuff over there. Maybe he's eating. He could be just relaxing, sleeping, working on the generator. I mean, we have a lot of options here. And what's going to really drive this is what we have available with animations. Now, I don't usually spend the time to create my own animations. I'm not an animator. So I deal with the tools that are available to me. That being said, at some point, if we need some crazy animations, I might reach out to an animator and say, hey, this is what we need, and let them create that for me. But what I do is I go to what's called mixamo.com, and let's take a look at that. You can see this is Mixamo. It's an Adobe product, and I think with an Adobe account it is free. And you have tons of characters you can select from. And so any of these characters, if you want to throw these into your game, you can by all means. It'll actually come with the model. But it also, I mean, and there's multiple pages here, by the way. There's probably like 150 characters. There's also all of these animations. And so I selected just your stereotypical character here just for preview purposes. But if we were to select an animation here, excuse me, you can see he's now doing that animation. He's sitting and laughing. And And so we can fine tune some of this stuff. I usually don't mess with this stuff too much. There's not usually a need to. But here we're toning down how much he's laughing, I think. So here it's really funny. So it's just crazy what you can do here and how you can adjust these animations here. Now that's not necessarily one that we are going to need for our character. I mean, yeah, we could have him laugh at some point, but I don't necessarily need him just sitting there on a loop laughing about something unless he's delusional. So what I'm going to do is kind of scroll through here and see if anything stands out to me. But we could also do a search for some of these too. So, because there is like 50 plus pages of these animations, so you can see there's a lot of gun animations too, which is really nice. We do have kind of an open animation here. That kind of looks a little creepy if he just sat there and kept opening and closing something. So let me do some searches here. Maybe we type in working. You can see he's actually making a drink here. Here's a really good example. So he's potentially working on a machine. And what we can do is we can literally make it so he just stays in this position and just keeps working like this. So we can do what's called this trim right here. So notice, it takes a few frames. It takes almost 30 frames here to before he. There we go. He does get back up at the end too. We gotta do a little bit more. And we want it to be somewhat smooth too, so there's quite a bit of a jump there. So it's kind of just playing around with this, fine-tuning it, seeing what looks good. I'm going to slow him down a little bit. And he really wants to do that big jump at the very end. It's because he's going down as we're doing this. But there's tricks for this, and so maybe I'll keep it higher here. And then what we can do is kind of invert the animation. So he's going to go down, and then we'll immediately go back into an inverse version of the animation where he slowly starts going back up, and then he's just going to keep going kind of down and up like that. I think this will work for now. What we're going to do, was where I click download. I go ahead and select this FBX for Unity here. I leave the frames per second at 30, which is fine, but we don't need the skin. We don't need this guy. I don't do any keyframe reductions. So I go ahead and just download this. Now, if we go back into our scene here, I do have this animations folder. I'm going to go ahead and create another one, and I'm just going to call it father here. So then in the downloads, you get this FBX file. I'm going to go ahead and drag this in. And it comes like this. And so this is technically the animation that we need and that we want. And then this is what the Mixamo concept comes into play here. We, in general, like I said, we just need this. I'm going to go ahead and change this to humanoid. Apply this. And then if we select the animation here, we do get a preview of it here. And you can see this is all of the keyframes here. And this is why I don't animate. You can see how just absolutely nuts this is. It looks like Braille. And that's just crazy to me. But you'll also notice that you can't edit these. I say I didn't want this one. You can't edit it because the way it comes from Mixamo, it's pretty much like, not necessarily copyrighted, but it's just locked down. And so what I usually do is I duplicate the animation itself here, and then we can actually get rid of this. So we still have the animation here, and then technically we can now edit this animation if we needed to. You can also drag, excuse me, you can also drag over your character here, and now you get a preview of the character doing the animation. It doesn't look too bad. I will say, if we look at his foot, there's some crazy stuff going on there, and I feel like I run into that stuff quite a bit. If we look back at the animation here, you can see his foot looks pretty good. But yet when we imported it into our scene and used our particular model, the foot is looking a little weird. So a lot of times I'll have to go in and fine tune the bones of our character, or I'll have to just fine tune that point right there so it doesn't look so crazy. But I don't want to spend too much time, fine tuning these animations at this point anyway. So I'll go ahead, and what we're going to do is we're going to create an animator controller for this guy. And so be under here. Actually, let's do it a different way. Let's create the animated controller through here. And we'll just call this father. Now, if I drag this into here, you can see once we click on the father, it's an empty animator controller. So now we can drag this over here. We can give it maybe a Boolean value. We can just say floor working. Basically, yes or no. Are you on the floor working? If you are, then that's when you would move into this animation here. And remember, what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate this, and we're going to have them cycle amongst themselves. So once he finishes going down, it would then go up to this other animation, and so that way it's gonna be a little bit more fluid looking. It's not gonna have that jolt that we saw earlier. So if we push play here and we look at the father, he's already doing some animation, and it looks fairly natural. Like he's not doing any kind of weird teleporting away kind of concepts. I just realized this armor panel's up and we don't need that. So disable that. Of course, that animation that he's doing there isn't really appropriate. So maybe we move him over to the generator, maybe? Maybe not. Maybe we can do... Maybe we could do the dream machine here. Maybe behind the gym. Okay. We go into the scene here. You can see he's not too bad. I will say we can probably move him a little bit more. I don't want him to clip into anything, but I also don't want it to be too obvious what he's doing. Because he's not actually doing anything. When we go and look at him in the scene, you can barely even tell he's there, right? He's hiding. But now we officially have our father in the scene and working on something. Ooh. You're like, Dad, what are you doing? Oh, but he's just working. I will go ahead and copy his transform here. That way, when we come out of play mode, I can just go ahead and paste that, and so now he'll be in that correct position every time we start here. So I am going to say also that this would be one of his actions of many that we could potentially do. So I want to create an empty game object here, and because I want to mark this location, I'm going to drag it out of the father here, and I'm just going to call this, I mean, we could call it whatever we want. I usually do maybe position 1, and then maybe a description. We can call it dream machine. So this location is where he's going to do that particular animation. So if we had a manager, I'll do that right now. I'll just call it Father AI. We can cycle through a bunch of these positions and these animations just on the fly. Now, I did mention earlier, he's just gonna magically teleport between these positions. For now, we are gonna set it up where he will walk in between these positions. But in order to do that, we're gonna have to set up the nav mesh, and we're gonna have to be able to set up the boundaries and make it so he knows what to avoid and how to pick a path to his next target. And we're gonna have to pick all of that stuff. Also, he doesn't even currently have an idle animation or walking animation or any of that stuff either. So we are gonna get there, but it's we're gonna do baby steps to do it. So let's go back to Mixamo here, and let's try to find another animation that we can work with here. Let's see, I don't think Not sure what he's doing here. Pushing something. I mean, I know he's opening a lid, but not sure. If we could use that on anything here. And what I really look at is there a spot like right here between this frame and this frame? Is there a spot where I can simulate him just kind of standing there rummaging? I guess to make it easier for now, I know there is a sleep version or a sleep animation. We could definitely do that. That's easy. That doesn't look too bad. So let's go ahead and download that one. It's going to automatically remember our download settings, which is nice. I'll go ahead and download it. And then we're going to do the exact same thing we just did earlier. We're going to drag this in. I'm going to change this to humanoid and apply. Now you can see the standard is 4 bones. And so sometimes I wonder if this is the issue that we're having. Because we're using these Cinti models versus the models, the characters that they use, I think there might be some bone differences. I'm not sure. But let's go ahead and duplicate this sleeping animation and we can get rid of this. Now if we look at the father here, we can go ahead and create another one laying sleeping here. And this one we can just loop over and over and over again, so it's not bad. These don't, because of the way that they work, they don't come standard with a loop. But we can preview what that looks like. I will say the angle, we're gonna have to adjust his angle. It looks like he's top heavy, like he's almost sleeping upside down a little bit. We're not gonna want that. So let's go ahead and move the father to his bed. And now in his animator, we're going to go ahead and just set this as the default here. I'm going to go ahead and create a new bool is sleeping. This is the normal naming convention that I like with Boolean values. It's is this, is that. This particular one, floor working, isn't really what I like, but once again, it'll work. If we go ahead and press play, and I look at the scene view, now we have our father kind of laying in the bed sleeping. Let's go ahead and adjust him. You can see how much he's top heavy here. We're gonna have to adjust his angle as well. Now we are gonna get some clipping. It's just the way it works. And he's gonna have to kind of sink into the bed a little bit. But I don't want it to look too ridiculous, and I don't want it to look like he's floating. You can see his leg kind of looks like it's floating a little bit. It really helps to look at this from all angles. But I think that looks good. Actually looks like he's on the pillow. It actually looks like his feet are on the bed, and he's not floating. That's good. We're gonna definitely copy this transform again, because now we're going to paste in that value there. I know it's weird. But if we press play, look at it from the scene view, now he's magically exactly the way that we want him. So again, I'm going to also create an empty games object at that exact spot. So we're going to call this position 2, and this is now that we have that, we can actually move this guy somewhere else, and we can adjust his rotations so that he's back to normal here. And so what this looks like with the father playmaker script here, and I'll go ahead and set my watermark. We can cycle through these positions either by timer, or using some type of button just to test it or debug it. We can do it however we want at this point, but just to kind of show what it's going to potentially look like and how we can have multiple areas that he's going to be doing an animation. I'll kind of set this up, but this is going to eventually change into a more in-depth kind of NPC AI script here as we go. So what I might do is let's actually give him, sorry about that. I'm actually going to give him an idle animation, and we got a lot of concepts here. That's a great sit idle there. Here's a drunk one. That'd be kind of funny. Dad drinks a lot. Here we go. Let's give that one. How that one looks. That one looks fine. It'll work. And we're gonna set this as the default now. And so what we'll do is now we'll have transitions to we'll have it set to this one. Doesn't really matter, but we'll have these transitions now where the condition is going to be based off of, is he working on the floor or is he sleeping? If he is, do these new animations. And then if he's not, go back to the normal idle animation. On this one, we don't know which state we're going to be in, so we need to create this for both. And almost as always, I am unchecking this. Now if we push play here, and I just look at the scene, you can see he is idling. If I go ahead and select that he's working on the floor, if we look back, he is working on the floor. And it is going to keep going in between the two animations here. I go ahead and uncheck this, then he goes back to the idle, and then we can say, hey, now you're sleeping, and then bam, he's. One thing we're not doing through this animator is we are not setting the positions, and that's what's going to happen in this playmaker script here. So what I'm going to do for now is I might just say whenever I press this button, this is gonna happen. I don't know. Maybe we have it be. Maybe have it do anything we want, but maybe I'll just have it be the. Basically, whenever we have this, whenever I press Z, it's gonna send an event next animation. And so the concept here would be to cycle through these animations. But what I'm thinking is first we're going to set the transform. Actually, we could probably even move the character directly to but I don't want it speed. I don't. We'd want it to be almost instant at this point. I'm almost thinking we can set the train. Or maybe it's position. That position. There we go. We are going to specify what this is, and that's so it's going to be the character here. But we're also going to need to store this position, which positions that we need. So I'm going to go ahead and take these positions here, and I'm going to make them children of the father AI. And so what we can do is create a new state, and we just call this init, or short for initialization. I'll set this as the start. What we're going to want to do here, we're going to want to get a position. And we're going to want to do it for all of our children. So ideally, we're going to break this down into 2 different states. We're going to store this as just a child. We do have a loop event. And a finished event. Now each iteration, and I messed this up. It's supposed to be like this. There we go. So when we first start the game, it's going to go through here, find all the children. So when we add more positions, it's going to do this for each one. And then we're going to get the child first. Then we're going to get the position of that child, and we're going to store it as we could probably just store it as a vector. This is a vector 3, so it's gonna have everything. We do want it as world space. And then immediately after that, we now want to we're going to want it to save we have to save this vector in an array. So I'm going to go ahead and create an array here. I'm going to call this positions, and it's a vector 3. We're going to add the array add positions, and we're going to add the value of the vector. Hopefully this makes sense. And then once it's done, it's going to go back and then grab the next child and do the exact same thing. And then once it's finally done, it'll just go down to this idle concept. Take a look at this. Now, if we look, it's already on this idle state. If we look at our array, we have two different elements here, and we have their positions here saved. We are going to need to do also rotation here. The same concept as before, but now this time we're going to have another array of rotations. I'm not sure this is the best way to do it, but this will work. Once again, it's a vector 3. So we're gonna get the rotation well of the child, and we're gonna store that. We want to store it as, I think we're gonna store it like this. Not sure at this point which one's gonna be better. But I think I'll do the quaternion. And then we'll need to do another array add, but this time we're gonna do the rotations. Actually, with arrays you can't really copy and paste. You have to, because it kind of stores the information based off of your variable. So notice now we can select oh, I know what I did. We go back to this array. Notice I set it as a vector 3. It shouldn't be. This is a quaternion. Kind of a hard word to say. There we go. So now if we press play on this again and we look at the Playmaker script, we check these arrays again. You can see we have the positions here, and then we also have the rotations here, and so the element 1 here, that's the one I was really worried about, because we'd made all these manipulations to the father laying in the bed. So this was a huge piece that we're gonna need as well. And now that we obtained the position and the rotations of these empty game objects, that we can actually set the position and set the rotation based off of what's in that array. So we are going to definitely set that. And before we set these position and rotations, we are going to need to get it again. Because it's only going to save the last one in this particular variable, so we're going to have to get it from the array so we can cycle through things. So I'm going to say array, and there's a get next here. And we're going to need to do this for both. A little bit more complicated, but this is definitely something that everybody should be able to figure out or play around with, because dealing with arrays and is huge in making a game. I mean, I think in general, I'll have to create a similar script to this, probably a good 10-20 times process. So it is good to know how to do this, and it's very similar to uh, what you would have to do in the scene if you're pulling things from a hierarchy instead of having to always constantly reference it just by dragging or wanted to find the item or get all of the items. Then this is the way that so I'm actually going to separate these out. The get position and array get station get rot. So of course we'll do the loop again. We're going to do finished on both of these. And we're also going to do a reset flag on these. Because we're going to be able to, we want to just keep being able to cycle through these by pushing a button. Now, I warned you that this isn't something that is going to stay in the game. This is just to kind of show how we're going to potentially go to these animations. I will say we are still going to get the position, we're going to get the rotation of these position 1, position 2, but then we're going to change this and we're going to say, hey, father, now move to position 1. Now move to position 2. We're going to set these up and do it that way. So a lot of this script is going to change, but we'll be able to keep some of it. So you can see we'll loop through here, and then we're going to we will loop here, goes like that. Now, technically, we don't really have a finished event. I'm gonna actually see if I can get by without having that. You may have to still specify that, hey, once you're finished, go back to this idle animation. All right, let's take a look and see what happens here. You can see he's currently in the idle animation. We did forget a huge part, but let's go ahead and back in the game, and I press Z. You can see now he's in the bed position. I go back to the game and push Z again. He's still in the bed. Oh, that's why. We'll fix this up quick. You can see here we didn't actually save the result. So we were setting it just to the old vector and the old quaternion. We want to get that each time. Then what we're also going to want to do is we're going to want to trigger that animation. And so the way that we did it is using this is sleeping or floor working, these Boolean values. That's going to be fine, but we're not going to use that right now. We're going to just trigger, and we're just going to say, I'm just going to call this a cycle, very similar to what we did before. And so now back in the Playmaker script here, we can then just do trigger, set animator trigger. Alright, and so now back at the animator here, we're going to also need another condition here. So what we can do is create another transition here. So the very first one was this. And we're just going to have this cycle. And then, so when we push cycle once, it's going to go here. It'll go back and forth. If we press cycle again, we're going to switch to the sleeping, and then vice versa. So we need another transition here. Cycle. And then we need a transition here, which just gets a little confusing and hard to visualize. But we also need one from here. You know, this is kind of a weird way of doing it here. Creating quite the spider web here. When we officially do the walking around portion of this AI script, we're not going to need those cycles. So that's kind of why I'm doing it this way. Look, setting it up originally what it's going to be, and then set it up with that cycle just so we can kind of just simulate what this is going to look like. So now if we look, maybe I can pull this scene view here. We're in the game. If I press Z, he looks like he disappears. He might be working on, oh, he is in the Dream Machine area, but he's not doing the animation here. Checking these transitions. We're not going to go back to the idle. So I think this actually is going to work here. I press Z. It go there. And what happened? He went back to the idle. That might be an issue with our Playmaker scripts. Press Z again. Does move. I don't know why we're stuck on there. Okay. Okay. Uh, this is kind of a little janky, but we'll get there, guys. So I am gonna have a finished date here. I was worried about that transition. And the reason being is because the way that this works is it's gonna automatically set the this reset flag. It's gonna set it to false on its own, and we don't want that to. I feel like there's a better way of doing this. I almost want to just always do it every time. And still not have, trying to get away from having this finished transition here. Right, I'm not giving up on that. Take a look. Press Z, he's over here. Press Z, he's in the bed. Press Z again, he's getting stuck. Oh. See what happens if we just don't use a reset flag. B. Oh, still getting stuck. What if I do it here? Do it for every time. See what that looks like. E. Weird. Huh. Let me think about this for a second. Yeah, I think I'm gonna change this. Debating how the best way to do it. We could do it by index too. So we could do it basically instead of doing an array get next, we can just do array get. And then we're gonna do index 1. Or sorry, index 0. And then we'll do another one here for rotation. And then what we'll do then is set the position still. And set that animation trigger. I think this will work better. And so we don't need those anymore. We don't even need this. We're all doing it in one big state here. And so what we're gonna do is, it's almost cheating to an extent. So we're gonna double this up. We're going to say, hey, once you're finished setting at position 0, go back to this one. And then we press it again. Now, this is not the way to do it as we progress, but this will work temporarily because we're gonna want to just, if we have like 10 of these positions, we're gonna want to go through all of these. We're gonna want to get every single value of the thing. So imagine having 10 different ones. We don't want to have 10 different of these idle states. So maybe that's not the way to do it. So what we would do is we're going to want to increment that index. So we'll do an int add. I don't know why we've made this so much more complicated than it should be. And add 1. So now when it goes back, it's gonna go back to index here. And it'll grab the next one. But eventually the index is going to get out of range. So we have this index out of range concept here. And so that's going to we're going to want to reset the index. I've never done it this way before, but I think this will work. So we're gonna have this reset index, which would then be to set that index back down to 0. That'd be cool if it works though. Where's my normal? Yeah, there it is. We're just gonna set it to 0. And then go back to that same state here. So now technically, no matter how many positions we have, this would technically work. I think if this index out of range actually works, then it will. So let's take a look. I press Z, he's here. Press Z, he's in the bed. If I press Z, he's back. I can just cycle through this, and it's working perfectly. Well, I wouldn't say perfectly. We still have to fix that animator issue here. So let's take a look at that while we're doing it live here. If I press Z, and now I can't. Now it's not doing anything. Weird. As soon as I switched over. Now it's working. What is going on? If I undock the scene view and I go back to the game view, it works. If I move the scene view back here, go back to the game, press Z, nothing works. That is interesting. Let's try it. Okay, working now. That's a weird glitch. Alright, let's take a look at the animator though. And actually, I'm gonna drag this into my other monitor, so just so I can look at this. I know you guys can't see it, but I really want to see what this looks like. So he's in the oops. Press E. Didn't want to press Z. We push Z. And I know why now. Just the way that we have this animator set up. So you can see the return is if it's false. And so of course we are false at this point. So it's just immediately returning. So I almost don't want these other transitions here. At least for this cycle portion. We'll add them back once we actually start doing this for real. Okay. Get rid of anything that's asking about that is walking or is working or is sleeping. Now when we cycle, we go to working on the device. It's going to go back and forth between these just fine. And then if we press cycle again, we're going to go to sleeping and then cycle again. So yeah, I think that's going to work better. We press Z, now you can see he's working on that. If we press Z again, he will be back over here working or sleeping, working on his sleep. So all of that, just to kind of show you, you know, what this could potentially look like. You know, when we start incorporating a lot of different animations, and we could actually even set it up where every single time he leaves the sleep machine, like he wakes up, his father's doing something different. So obviously we don't necessarily need him. We don't want him to just keep doing stuff while you're dreaming. We're gonna have a completely different scene loaded. But when it loads back the bunker scene, we're gonna have it something built up where, hey, randomly, we're gonna select a random number, you know, between 0 and how many positions that we have, and then you're gonna pull that position's rotation and whatnot, and set the father to that. So then he's gonna randomly be doing stuff every single day. Hopefully that makes sense. But then we're gonna set it up where he actually walks in between those random spots as well throughout the day, and hopefully we have enough of them where it doesn't look ridiculous or it doesn't look repetitive, and maybe we don't want him to go to the same spot over and over and over again, kind of deal. And then eventually we're gonna have to even set up where we can talk to the father. So if we switch back to Mixamo here, let's try to find some more animations here. Obviously sleep was an easy one, but sit is another easy one. There should be a lot of concepts here. And so some of these, you know, we can really go in depth here. And so we can actually have, you know, your seating idle animation, but then maybe he randomly does, you know, go to looking at looks like he's looking at his watch almost. You know, he might look around, scratch, look around kind of deal. This one he's actually playing with a gun, I think. We are gonna want this animation eventually, you know, the hey, I can sit down now. These types of transitions are huge. You know, the stand to sit. So at some point we are going to do that. He's going to have to move to a certain position, rotate his body, and then engage this animation here. For now, I'm just kind of looking for just kind of a stereotypical like sit. We could also maybe even do eating. Let's see if they have an eating animation. Of course, there's 16 plus pages. And go back to the sit. There's got to be one. We just have 6 pages to go through to find this. Some of these are just poses, so we definitely don't want anything like that. That's funny. What about drink? Here we go. Now, for this one, he's doing some pretty crazy sitting, and he's actually. Of course, we don't want any of that walking stuff. We're just gonna want the sitting and drinking. He also throws it away. He opens it and he throws it away. It looks like he's way over his head here. Maybe he's grabbing it from the bottom. That looks a little better. You still don't need the opening part of it. And we also might have to create an idle version of this too. Where he's just sitting down with his cup and not doing anything. I think this could work. I said it was easy, but it's not. At least the drinking part of it. Let's try to find just a regular sitting idle. Yeah, I think this one's perfect. I like it. Let's do that one. That one's nice and easy. We'll go back over to the Unity project here. And we'll drag in that new animation here. We'll set it to humanoid. We're going to go ahead and just duplicate this here. Delete it. Now in the animator we have this. I want to go ahead and create that Boolean value while it is sitting. Now if we go in our scene view, just for now, I'm going to set this as the default. And if we push play here, go back to the scene, you can see he's eating. So what we could do is, pick any seat we want for that matter. We'll probably want maybe multiple seats. Like we're gonna have to adjust his rotation a little bit here. I think it's funny his feet aren't gonna touch. And he looks like he's just standing upright. We're gonna want to loop that animation. But he looks like he's sitting so proper that I don't know if that chair is gonna work. What other chairs do we have? I think we have one. We have a couple in the living room here. Our kitchen area. Try this one first. Just laughing that no matter what, he's not going to touch the ground. You may have to maybe shrink the chair even. I don't want him to sink too much into that chair. But he would have to be at about this height here. And so what I'll do is I will copy this position here. Then do is I'll create another game object. Call this position 3, and then we'll call it chair 1. I might have more than one chair. And then I will paste the component values here. So now they. And I think now that I've done that, what I'll do, go back to the scene view here. I'm going to paste in the values here. That's looping now, so I was just taking a look at that. But we're going to want to shrink this thing down. How's that look? Still sinking in a little bit, but it doesn't look terrible. A little bit of clipping with the arms. Not sure if we can avoid that too much. Makes the desk look big now too. But I think that'll work. I'm gonna copy the chair now's transform component. So I'll go ahead and push based on that. So now if we copy this transform and we press play, paste this for the father. That's what he would kind of sitting, maybe listening to this radio or something. I think that works. Now, the cool thing is because of the way that this script is written, now that we've added this new position, it's still gonna magically work here. The one thing we do need to set up is the cycle now to also incorporate the sitting. So we're gonna go from working on the dream machine to sleeping and then do the chair sitting. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the cycle here. And then we'll do the cycle also back to this state here. And then now we don't need it from this one. Now if we take a look at this, press Z, he's now working here. If we press Z again, he should be sleeping. Moves around a lot, guys. Sleeping. And then we should be now sitting over here listening to the radio. Yeah, it was much easier now with this script actually wrote the right way. Alright, so let's go back to Mixamo again. Keep adding to these here. I'm wondering if there's a reading. Nope. Let's just type read, maybe. Don't think there is. Trying to avoid going through all the different pages of animations. But there's a lot, and some of the animations, it's not necessarily that they're named weird. It's just what I'm looking at is, can we take just a few seconds of that animation and make it work for us? Because sometimes that's what you got to do. And so even though maybe it wasn't intended to do what we wanted it to do, we can still find a way to make that happen. For example, look at this one. This one's called Petting Animal here. And yeah, it kind of looks like he's petting a big horse, maybe. But maybe he's actually painting the wall, or he's taking the dust off the TV. I don't know. I mean, we could probably get this to work here pretty easily. Here's another one that we could probably use right now. So you can see he's just doing an idle, but he's got his hand closed there. And so we can put like a hammer in there. And yeah, he is just kind of staring off into space, but it'll work. NPCs, if you really truly watch, like Skyrim, and watch what the NPCs do, I mean, they do some pretty weird stuff sometimes. So back into the Unity scene, I downloaded that new one. We just gotta get that set up real fast. Humanoid. Duplicate this. So now this one is just standing with a briefcase. Now this is gonna actually incorporate some other new concepts here. Is now we're gonna want to toggle that tool that he's going to have as well. So there's a couple of different ways that we're going to be able to do that. But let's go ahead and drag this new animation on here. And if we set this up properly, we would just cycle to here. And this one would go back to cycle, that one on cycle. And we don't need this one no more. And so then, but for now, we're going to set this as the default layer so we can see what he's doing. And then find where we're going to put this guy. So he's standing here. We're going to give him like a hammer or a tool or something. I don't know. We could maybe even give him a plunger and put him in front of the toilet or something. I don't know, that'd be kind of funny. Maybe he's just kind of frustrated. He's looking at something like, man, I really don't want to have to fix this right now. What do you think? We could put him in front of the toolbox, like maybe he's looking for a tool, but he's not finding it. Put him in front of the stove, maybe. I don't know. Love to hear you guys' opinions on this. Maybe for now we just put him in this work area here. Or something like this. We are going to want this loop as well. I'll go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and copy this guy's transform. Now when we set up a new empty game object here, we're going to call this position, and maybe I don't know what we call this, work area. And then paste the component values here, and then that's going to be at this exact spot here. So I think that's literally all we have to do each time we add a new position. Press Z there. He should be sleeping right now. Now he's see how he gets thrown in there really fast. It's so funny. Now he's reading. We press Z one more time. He's now this general area looking at the craziness. There we go. So now let's go ahead and add that hammer to his hand. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a hammer. I'm just thinking some kind of tool. But I know we have hammers, so I thought that would be the one to do. This one's kind of cool, even though technically a weapon, but we can, in this case, we can just use it as a regular hammer. And he's got his it's actually his right hand. For the record, I need to set this back as the default. But so it's his right hand, and so we're gonna need to put this hammer into this right hand here. And then what I'll do is I'll push play. We'll go ahead and push Z until we get him in the proper position here. And so now I could take a look at how this is. Obviously this hammer needs to be adjusted here. And we could pause it. I haven't really done that before. in this stream, but it's a great example of a good time to do it. We can pause this animation, fine tune where we're putting this hammer. And it's tough with these low poly images. You're gonna have some clipping, but I think that actually looks really good. And then we can't forget to copy the transform here. So if we press pause and we go back to the animation, you can see standing there holding the hammer. All right, so we'll go ahead and paste this new transform for that hammer. And you can see that it's based off of where it was in the hand itself, not where it was way over there, which is pretty nice. And then we don't need this toggled on all the time. We just need it toggled on during when he's in that position. So that being said, we have to decide or figure out how we're going to determine that each time we look at this script, right? So we're adding the indexed here, but it's going to be index 3 when he needs the hammer. So what we would have to do is some type of int there. And we're basically going to say, hey, are you on index 3? And the reason why it's 3 is because, remember, we always have that 0 value, so it'll be 0, 1, 2, 3. And if it's equal, I need you to turn on this hammer. If it's less than or greater than, then we're gonna turn you off. So I'll have an activate. And hopefully we wouldn't have to do this a crap ton of times. Because if we did, we'd probably need to do this a different way here. But if he was reading a book, we would need to activate the book. If we, maybe we do give, he wasn't really working behind the dream station. His hands were kind of like this. They were wide open. I don't know if we could really give him a tool there. But anytime we do incorporate some type of tool into the mix, I think that's going to only just improve those animations. So then this int add is going to come here, and then these will go back to this idle. So if we look at this again, he's just standing there. He doesn't have a tool. But if we press Z, he's over here, still no tool. And I'm stuck. I don't want to go all the way over to there to sleeping, but he still should be good. Now he's sitting. And he does have the hammer here. I'm glad we checked that. If we look at the index value, we are at 3. Which is interesting. So technically we would want it to be at value 4. We push Z again. He's now over here. I think I know why. It's because we're incrementing this integer value afterwards. And if we would have done this, this is what we'll do. So instead of finishing and going down here to the int add, we're going to finish and go to the int compare. And then we're going to add the new integer value at the very end. Hopefully that makes sense. So now we run over and take a look. He's not going to be holding the hammer. Good. And then if we run back over here, he's got the hammer. So bam. That is a way to incorporate the tools here. I'm gonna clean this up just a little bit. So it's getting a little crazy, but I think it's still easy to follow at this point. Hopefully you guys are able to follow it. All right. So now if we go back to Mixamo again, we still got some time here. Let's try to see what else we can find here. We do got a wheelbarrow walk, and we do have a wheelbarrow in the scene, but I don't know what we would do with that. I'm avoiding walking stuff right now, if you can't tell. I definitely don't think he should be doing any kind of combat stuff. I don't think he'll be working out. You know, he's not going to be, you know, acting crazy, dancing, anything like that. Here we have him. Looks like he's texting. I wonder if we can get a type animation. We do have the computer. I'm gonna look back at the scene here. We may have to adjust the keyboard or the chair, but this is something he could technically do. And that's going to be an interesting animation to effect, because in order for him to sit in that computer chair, he's going to actually have to rotate the computer chair first and then sit in it, then rotate the chair again so he's facing the computer, and then he's going to be able to type in it. Unless we just make it so he's sitting on the edge of the chair and the chair's still rotated in properly. He also messes around with like a mouse, it seems like. Take a look. Yeah, right there. He's messing with the mouse. So I'm gonna turn this down. Looks like he's doing it in the beginning too. Oh, he's still doing it at the end here. Still doing it. That'll work. Download this one. I can't remember if we officially made this an inverse. We did not. So on this one, well, I can't believe we didn't notice that. Probably it blended it together pretty well here. There is this spot here in the center where Unity does a really good job of just blending it together, so we didn't necessarily need the reverse. We may go with that. At some point we may just get rid of the inverse concept, but for now I'll leave it. Alright, so we downloaded this other animation. I think this is going to be the last one that we will be able to do today. I'll go ahead and apply this. We are going to loop this one. Yeah, I guess it's not as bad. It looked like it's... Wow. He's doing... You can notice his arm is just a little bit lower than what it really should be. That's too bad. That's the kind of stuff that I talk about. So I don't think it's a problem with Mixamo. I think it's a problem with the low poly Cinti assets. But I don't know. We also didn't create a boolean for the standing work thing, so I'm gonna do the standing hammer boolean here, and we'll do another one called typing. And these are just boolean values that we're gonna eventually use. Not gonna be right this exact second. But when we officially make it so that he can walk around and do stuff, then we are gonna do that. So we got this going here now. Don't need this one no more. And then this one is going to be a cycle trigger. Alright, that's good. For now, we need to set this as default. Play. We go over to the father now. He's also kind of sitting awkwardly. Let's move him over where he would be officially typing. Now technically he could be typing here. Could also technically be typing here. And we would just say, hey, when he's in this position, he now has the bar tool underneath him. And I've seen games do this where they're about to do this animation, this typing animation, and then he magically pulls out a chair out of nowhere. I've seen that. I want to say Skyrim does that. That's not something that I would be against doing. So you can see what I mean now about the chair. We would need it to be rotated. We're gonna also probably want to fix this animation at some point. Notice how the hands are all crazy. Let's take a look at this rotation. Maybe with the rotation we can make the hands, looks like he's almost like sleeping. The hands don't look as bad. I mean, I don't know anybody who types with their hand sideways here. At least his feet look more parallel. I think most people do type kind of awkwardly like this. Kind of lean one direction or the other, maybe. But this will work, so I will go ahead and copy this transform component. I will end play mode, and let's go ahead and create a new empty game object. Now position 5, and this is now typing. I'll paste those component values. And so now, just that simple, if we press Z a couple times. Now, typing. Father works a lot. But I will say, maybe we should adjust this chair. So let's say we rotate it like that. And we're going to want to move it in as well. Maybe all the way to that extent. So. Now, I'm wondering, you could also do something that says, hey, if he's at this position, we will rotate the chair to this location. But otherwise, the chair is going to stay at this rotation. I'm not going to do that currently. There's just not enough time today. We might do that. We might take a look at that tomorrow. For the time being, just going to copy this new transform, and then just the chair like this, regardless. I think the only time it really becomes an issue is, like I said, when he's walking around and you're watching him move from point to point to point. When you're watching him do that, you're going to want everything to look very natural. And so you're going to want to see him maybe pull that chair out or just rotate the chair. And those types of animations are really hard to perfect, especially not having a full-time animator on board, and then also going through Mixamo. You know, the graphics or animations that we have through Mixamo, you know, where we are a little bit limited. But I will say we've made pretty good progress today. We were able to not only pick who the father looks like, but we were able to create several positions and animations for him to maneuver through. So I think you know, we did pretty good job today. I think I'm going to leave it at that, and I think tomorrow we'll just continue this process. And I think we're also going to get it set up where we can actually see the father move from point to point to point using NavMesh. So thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.